so you could, sorry, I'll go back to this. You could shift the ball right, left, up or down and tell it to be a little bit warmer, a little bit cooler, a little bit more pink, a little bit more magenta. And that's that. But it is quite an advanced thing, that, so I won't really mess with it. And then here you've got your colour space on the last one. As you'll notice, mine's on Adobe RGB. To be fair, if you shoot RAW files, it doesn't matter which one it's on, because it doesn't get embedded into the RAW. It's irrelevant. It might as well not be there. But if you're a JPEG shooter, it's really, really handy to know that if you put it in Adobe RGB, when your camera edits the image and compresses it and does its own editing, I like Adobe RGB because I usually edit JPEGs even more on the computer so that I've got a broader colour space. That's why I use Adobe RGB. The default is sRGB. It's up to you. You can use any, but again, if you're shooting RAW, it's irrelevant. Don't even worry about it. But if you want to put it on one, why not Adobe RGB? And then if you shoot a JPEG, you've got a broader colour range. Right, we'll go back to the top here. Now we'll do this last menu now. Picture style. I just want to say something about picture style. Picture style is, you've got a few settings if you go into it. You've got neutral, portrait, landscape, faithful, monochrome or user defined. Let me just go back one. Just press OK there. Right, so you can see mine's on neutral. Well, let's just state that when you shoot RAW, it's irrelevant what it's on, because it means nothing, absolutely nothing. All that means is whatever I set that to, let's say I put it to monochrome, black and white, and take a picture now. In fact, we can do it, can't we? Because we've got it on, right? So let's actually do it and take a picture. No card in camera, we can't take a picture. Right, okay, we won't take a picture then. Just put it back to neutral. But basically, if I'd have took a picture then, it would have come up black and white. But it wouldn't be black and white because it's a RAW file. If it was a JPEG, it would be black and white, end of story. No two ways about it. But if it was a RAW file, it would just be a coloured image. But if you wanted to show your customer what it looked like in black and white when you shoot RAW, you could quickly shoot it like that and say, what do you think to that? And then they've seen it in black and white and they can make up their mind and they can say, well, no, I like it coloured or whatever. Mine's on neutral, and the settings on mine are, basically, if you look at my settings, I'll just go into neutral and press the info button. Sorry about the awkward thingy, I'm trying not to knock the camera because I'll knock it out of focus. You can see my sharpness is right down, and my contrast is right down, and my saturation's down a couple of points. Now you're probably thinking, hang on John, you've just said that makes no difference whatsoever to your RAW file. It's not for RAW files why that picture style is set like that. That picture style is set like that for my video. Because when the camera edit, when you record video, that picture style does get embedded into the video. Your camera uses that, and it gives, because I don't know if you know this, but when you record your video, your camera edits it at the same time, and that's how you end up with your MOV, and it's compressed. So that's why I've done that, so that it doesn't sharpen my video or try and enhance the highlights and stuff. I've made it down to a minimal, so that when I've got it in Final Cut, I do all the horsework, not the camera. But it will take effect if you shoot JPEG. So be careful. If I were to shoot JPEG tomorrow, let's say somebody rang me up next door and went, look, I need you to come and photograph a party. I'd probably shoot that in JPEG. I'd change that picture style straight away. I might even put it on auto, but I wouldn't leave it on neutral, because all my JPEGs had come out really soft because they've been no sharpening. The saturation, I just wouldn't leave it on that. So remember that if you shoot RAW, it's irrelevant. If you want in, say you're not a videographer like me, so you don't need to set it to neutral. You could set it up so that your images look really vibrant on your screen, nice and sharp and contrasty. So if you're photographing and you're showing your customer all the time, your images are going to look superb. But if you shoot in RAW, just bear in mind when you go home and you copy it across to your computer and you open it in Lightroom, it's going to look like a bag of shit. It won't look nothing like on your screen. But if your customer's sat there glued to your camera screen all the time, let me have a look, then it'll show them a different image, and plus you can edit it to pretty much that standard anyway, but I'm just letting you know. Right, long exposure noise reduction. That's a fairly easy one to understand. When you're leaving your shutter open for a long time, that's classed as a long exposure. I'd turn that on. It doesn't do any harm. I think default is on. Oh no, it might be off. Turn it on, and if you ever do a long exposure, it'll help reduce the noise. It doesn't, there's no negatives to having it off, so have it on. End of. That's that. I like ISO noise reduction. Third range down. Basically, that is when you take a photograph at high ISOs in your camera. If you're shooting RAW, it's irrelevant. It doesn't make a difference whether it's off on or whatever. So that, I'm glad we've covered that. JPEG is where it makes a difference. So if you're shooting a JPEG, say at 1600, and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, these are always coming out a bit soft. It's probably because you've got the noise reduction too high, so the camera's softening it too much. So go try turn the noise reduction down, or if not off. You'll find out on a 70D, you can probably shoot at ISO 1600 and don't have any. Even on a JPEG, don't have any whatsoever noise reduction. And unless you're printing it out 30, 40 inches, it's going to be irrelevant. But that's down to your personal choice. I like tonal priority. Let me just have a look what time we're on. I like tonal priority. You've got off or D+. That's basically off or on. What does I like tonal priority do? I like tonal priority is a menu that I'm going to talk about for a minute, or a setting should I say. It's absolutely stunning. It works in RAW, believe it or not, and it works on JPEGs. And if you're a JPEG shooter, it's your mummy of all mummies, because basically it retains detail in the highlights and it just really works fantastic. If you don't believe me, turn it off, take a shot, blow out your highlights, and then turn it on, blow out your highlights with it on, same settings, obviously use manual. By the way, when you turn it on, the minimum ISO you can use is 200. You can't go to 100. It's the way it works to keep detail in the highlights. So that's a negative, but 200 ISO on the 70Ds, like 400 on a 5-year-old camera. So, sorry, like 100 on a 5-year-old camera. Even 400 is, so 200's not really a problem. And it does work on RAWs. It really does work on RAWs as well. Delete dust data. Delete dust data is to do with if you've got any dust on your sensor. What will happen is you can tell your camera to clone the dust out and ignore that pixel. So when you've taken your pictures, you can't see it in your images. I don't recommend you do it, but it is okay for a quick fix if you really need to do it. I don't know if you're going to hear that humming now or that little hiss. That's my YN600 video light fan. It's actually quite loud. It wouldn't really matter for a wedding or something, but we'll have to see how it affects my lapel microphone. But there's nothing I can do about it because I need the light, because if I turn it off, let's just turn it off. I might be able to turn it off. Turn it back on. Its fan's gone off now. So that's that. And then you've got your multiple exposure. That's to do with HDR. I don't shoot HDR very much now because you can pretty much use a single RAW file and get HDR for what I want to do. I'm not saying that it's as good as HDR, it won't be. And that's what that feature's for. I'm not going to cover that because I've not been into it. I'm assuming looking into it, I mean I will have a little look, but I'll be honest, I've not. You've got enable, you can choose how many exposures it takes and stuff like that. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'm not really into it, sorry. If you're really stuck on it and you really want me to spend half an hour or a couple of hours playing with it and learn exactly how it works, send me an email and I will. But to be fair, I don't really use it. And let me see what we're on. We're on 9 minutes, so I don't really want to put this on much further. Let's go through this menu. Basically, live view shooting. That's when you're in video mode, if you press this, that is live view shooting. That's it, simple as that. That's live view shooting. If we go menu, and I think it is anyway. Yeah, look, I'm pressing it now and it won't go. That's live view shooting. Live view shooting, I'll tell you what that is really good for. Right, I'm going to turn up so I don't want to flatten the battery. You know when you're shooting at shallow depths of, I'm going to finish it on that menu there. When you're shooting at shallow depths of field at 1.4 and f2, I've found out if you look through the viewfinder like you normally would and take a picture, you tend to get soft images. They're very hard to get a tack sharp image. Now, I'm talking tripoded at 1,000 of a second here before anybody goes, are you sure you're not wabbling? Are you sure it's not technique? No, I'm talking, that's sat on there now. I could go to 1,000 of a second, turn that light up full blast, which would rock its socks off, and shoot at f2 at something, and most of the time it just doesn't seem to do a great job, especially on 70D, and it's actually a bit of a problem on 70D, but it does it on 60D as well. To be honest, it does it on all cameras when you're shooting it. But what I've found out is if you go to live view, I don't know if you're going to see it on the video, but let's say we were photographing that chair arm there and we touch it, watch. It's focusing now. And then you take the picture, bang, it's tack sharp, it just focuses brilliantly. So you try that. If you're finding out with your good lenses at f1.4 and f1.8 it's a little bit soft, try popping it in live view and touch the screen, or even you can even press the shutter and it'll focus for you. And same way, but it'll use that technology, and it uses different technology. When if we turn this off now, how do we turn it off that way? There, if we take a picture now, right, let me turn live view off. No card. But see how I'm trying to, if I take that picture, it's different technology than doing it that way. I've just showed you, and it seems to nail focus a lot better the other way. When I shoot detail shots at weddings now, real close-up shots, I bang it, I get it on a tripod or a monopod, and I go to live view and I touch the screen. And you can set it so when you touch the screen, it takes the image as well. So you get your camera nice and tight, bang, and it focuses and takes the picture immediately. And you'll find out you'll love your f1.4 and your f1.8 and your f2. I know it'd be a bit probably harder to do on portraits. I'm talking more still stuff here. Anyway, I'm going to end these videos now. They've gone on long enough because I have gone into major detail on how everything works. And we'll carry on from the next menu down. On the next videos, we'll start off on AF method. Thanks for watching. Please comment and subscribe.